Hello YouTube. Today's video is going to be about spiritual bypassing. So the other day I posted a video on my other channel, The Sage, which is geared more towards the workforce and advocating for conscious leadership. As part of the video, I went on a work rant per se, and I posted it on that channel. This was on a Sunday, probably in the afternoon. So so Monday morning, I go ahead and I decide, let me share, a reel on my Instagram so that people know that I am posting this on this channel. I kid you not, it must have been maybe about a half hour. Okay. And I get a message from my brother on my Instagram. And I'm like, well, okay, it's interesting. I don't ever get like a message from this person. I didn't even know that he was following me on Instagram, to be honest. So I open the DM and it has a thumbnail of the posting that I put up on Instagram, and he says, I suggest you take this down. Now, I didn't really understand why, because I didn't like say anything crazy on it. You know what I mean? Not on the reel per se. But the video, you know what I'm saying? It's a rant, so you can't expect like the best language, right? So I immediately like messaged him back, and all I said was, why? Well, I said that and I left it at that. However, I could feel myself immediately go into this space of regression, I guess, if you want to call it that, where I was actually like doubting myself, questioning myself, like well, who's gonna see it, and what are they gonna say, and just all these little voices in the back of my head, like just talking up my fears, right? So I could feel something inside me. So I have the voices in my head speaking to me, right? But inside me over here, I could feel something emanating from there. And it was like, Karen, stop. Karen, stop. You know? And I was like, still kind of just going, checking my LinkedIn and blah, blah, blah. And, who has access to my video, you know, kind of like in panic mode, right? And then still that voice in my chest, not in my head, in my chest, saying, Karen, stop. And then I just stopped. And I remember sitting just like this in front of my computer at work. And then I was like, what are you doing? What does it matter? Like, like what is this person going to do for you? What has this person ever done for you? You know? And then I stopped and I just let it go. I let it rock. And I kid you not, you know, at that point, I also, rationalized with myself, like, yo, Carrie, you really were just about to spiral back into that cycle of self-doubt and, you know, psychosis, I guess. So I decided, I was like, you know what? After that, I felt calm throughout the whole entire day. So much so that even though I knew to expect a message back from him, I just didn't get caught up on it. Like it wasn't the highlight, it wasn't the priority of my day. Like I just went about my day, my own business. So I get home and I'm like, oh, I guess I got such a little story to share with my kids, you know what I'm saying? Because my kids always like the updates and, you know, they've had their experiences with my brother and they step very cautiously around him. Not because they fear him, but because they're not children anymore, you know? And because they're not children anymore, they don't hold back the way they used to, you know? But I always give my brother the benefit. I get home, my daughter, you know, my older daughter, she's, you know, sharing her day. And like, that's what she always does. She decompresses and she shares her day. And as she's nearing the end of a story, I'm like, oh, I haven't checked to see if he responded. So I go ahead, I check my DM, and there was a response. When I open it, it was a 2 minute video. I mean, voice note. It was a 2 minute voice note. And I was like, oh, we're doing this. Okay. You know, now granted, you know, my brother's a little lazy when it comes to the texting. I'm more of the texting girl. I don't care. I'm a writer, so like I'll just text away. And then I get to proofread my shit. And then I sent it. But he felt like he needed to do the voice note thing. It must be a Gemini thing, right? So I'm like, okay, brace myself. Now, before I do this, you know, you have to understand that there is this place of trauma, right? Because my life growing up with my siblings was not the most encouraging life. You know, we all know that siblings can be vicious and they're supposedly supposed to be the most honest people in your life, more honest than your friends, blah, blah, blah. But my siblings were not even really supportive unless I was on their agenda. So, unless I actually was doing something that they felt was right, that they felt was the best path, that they felt whatever, there was always like high criticism and a lack of support. There was always, it wasn't just teasing, like, you know, it was like straight up, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, you're ghetto, you're whatever, you're a low life, like stuff like that. This is what I grew up with. And even into my adult life, it's been like that. So I brace myself and I'm like, you know what? I realize it really doesn't matter at this point. So I press play and I'm listening to the voice now. So my brother starts to talk about, listen, I think you need to take that down because you're portraying yourself in a negative light. He says, um, I'm not out here trying to sound like a bootleg Jehovah like your sister or a fanatic Jehovah like your mother. For those that don't know, Jehovah is Jehovah's Witness. just, just so you know. I myself am more of a universe guy. That's what he's at, right? He goes on to say, it's not even so much about who you're talking about. I don't think that really matters. I don't really care about them. It's more about how you're portraying yourself negatively on social media. He continues and says, I noticed that you're posting videos on YouTube and that, you know, I went to your channel because I saw your link. I went to your channel. I don't know why you're doing this. I don't know if you're doing it to vent. If you're doing it to vent, I can think of many more ways, of different ways for you to do that and, more productively. Um, if you're doing this to get followers, I don't know if you've noticed, but your videos are not exactly getting a lot of views. And he goes on and on to say about, he's like, oh, people are not going on YouTube to hear that type of negativity. People are going on YouTube to get enlightened. And I kid you not, as I'm listening to this voice note, I feel the smile coming up in my face, like, because I knew what was happening. I knew exactly what was going on there. Even if my brother doesn't understand or realize it, I know what was going on in that video. In that voice note, I'm sorry. And basically, it came down to spiritual bypassing, or what some people call toxic positivity. Let me explain. So, my brother, as of recently, and I'm thinking probably 2022, because I found out in 2023. Was it? I might be even wrong. I think it might be 2023, 2024. I don't remember. But just within the last year or two, my brother has shifted, you know? He has started to read, different books. He's opening up his mind. I'm pretty sure that this came from a place where he is trying to manifest, right? My brother has been a pretty successful person in his career. I give him that. But at the same time, we all get to that point where it's like, I don't want to work that hard anymore. Like, you get tired of, like, nose to the grindstone all the time trying to make this buck. So I'm pretty sure that in the process of him trying to find a better way to manifest his money, he started to read about manifestation. And in this process, he came across books where manifestation is not just about this law of attraction, telling yourself affirmations and blah, blah, blah. There is that overlap, right, with spirituality, where, it's about belief. You have to believe these things. You can't just like say them, you have to believe them. And I know this because um I believe in 2023, for my father's birthday, I met up with him and my family to do a little, party for my father who's visiting in Georgia. And when we were there, my brother was on me like, "Oh, read this book, read this book." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to read the book." You know? And I bought the book and I was reading through it and I was like, "Oh, he's tapping into that spirituality." As any of us do, when we start to learn about this stuff, we realize that we attract a lot of that negativity in our lives. Okay. And once we learn something new, we want to just zone in on that new and stick to it. And in our minds, we tell ourselves, "Oh, no more of this, no more of that, no more negativity. It's all about positivity. It's all about life and love. It's all about uplifting, blah, blah, blah." I went through it. We all go through it. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a time where I too kind of like, once I started, this was like 2015 for me. I started this journey in 2015. Um, I remember like, I was like, okay, no more positivity. So sometimes I'm gonna say some stuff and like you guys are gonna take that shit like mad personal. So get ready for it, okay? But I'm only speaking out of my own experience and y'all can disagree, but this is where I get it from, okay? In Gemini nature, because that's what my brother is, he's a Gemini. He takes his spiritual bypassing to another level with his arrogance. So he's learning about this new spirituality. He's learning how to shift his mindset. And now he kind of forgets that you're not. He goes into full on teaching mode because now he knows something new and now he can teach it. I don't see it that way. I'm the type of person, I learn something new. I feel I can share it. There is a difference. Okay. You can teach or you can share. I'm sharing. And because I'm sharing, I am open to other people's perspectives. I am open to what other people have to say. My brother goes into full on teaching mode like he just learned the secret of the universe and now he knows what it is and he's telling you you're wrong, I'm right, blah blah. So I wasn't even mad. I was like, oh, he's going through the first phase of the journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. I didn't even respond to the voice note. I just let it rock. Because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, eventually he's going to get to a point where the universe, spirit, he's going to have to go through an experience where it'll have to, there's ups and downs to this journey. And the same way he's having a high high right now, he's going to end up having a low low. Because just when you think you have it figured out, you don't. And right now he thinks he has it figured out. And that's all it is. Okay? He just thinks he has it figured out. So like I said, I started this journey in 2015. This particular journey, right? Because there's the journey of life that you started when you were born. Even though I've been following astrology since I was 15. I've been doing tarot since I was about 20. You know, I have dabbled in, my rituals and, things like that since about 25, you know, but more intensely around after I started this journey, like at 35. And I've learned a lot of lessons. Now, granted, in addition to my lessons, there's mental health, braided into that. Okay. And I've gone through many dark nights of the soul, you know, nights where I've questioned life. I've questioned everything. And sometimes I've gotten into very vulnerable positions. And I understand that this is not an easy journey. It's not an easy journey for anybody. Anybody that is truly going through it, this is not an easy journey. Okay. And I didn't respond to my brother, not because I didn't want to deal with his bullshit, although my brother does have a history of getting belligerent when you argue with him or dispute with him, because like I said, in his mind, he knows everything. But aside from me not wanting to, because it's always like they say, like, you can't argue with somebody who's not ready to take in your information. I'm pretty sure that life will have it so that there'll be a moment where my brother and I will end up getting into these conversations. It's like, oh, about that video. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? This is what I felt and this is what I thought. And I thought you should know it, but I knew it wasn't the right time. And then we'll just get into that conversation and it will be a fluid conversation and there won't be any belligerence, there won't be any arguing. But I felt that at that particular moment, it wasn't the right time. So with that being said, as far as my video, no, I didn't take it down. I haven't even checked in on that video, to be honest with you. I just like posted it because it was a work rant. I don't know if it even been ignored, had a view or whatever. All I know is that I post these videos as someone that is relatable. Okay. I'm not going to post these videos and do a whole bunch of rehearsals and do a whole bunch of whatever. Like, honestly, like, you watch these videos and the most that I do is cover the bags under my eyes. Okay. Because, it's like really bad. And as a matter of fact, just recently I was having like a whole bunch of dreams. And even though I was sleeping through the night, I was not getting that much sleep because I guess my brain was technically still working. It was in dreamland and it was pretty intense. So, when I post these videos, I'm just out here trying to make sure that I don't look like I just rolled out of bed. You know what I mean? But the point of these videos is to be in my essence, to be truthful, to be relatable, so that when you guys do see the videos, you're watching somebody that you might have living next door to you. You might be watching somebody that you might run into at work, I'm trying to be me. I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm not trying to put out toxic positivity. And you know what? I'm here to put out light. I'm here to put out positivity. But if there's anything I've learned about this journey, is that you cannot have light without dark. And in my many dark nights of the soul, I had to learn that I had to embrace my shadow side. And in the beginning, it was hard because I was like, no, I don't want to deal with the shadow side. That's why, I'm always trying to strive. I'm always trying to strive for the better. I'm trying to be a better person. And, a limiting belief is that trying to be the better person and is just being less and less negative. And unfortunately, that's not the way this works. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a balance of your light and your dark. It's not about being more light than dark or having no dark at all. It's impossible. You lose your sense of self. Okay? Because how can you relate to the people around you if you can't understand yourself, if you can't be that self-aware of yourself? So, being as I saw what my brother did, even though he made that judgmental comment about my mom being a fanatical Jehovah, you know, to some extent, he's basically repeating the same pattern because he's sitting there being a fanatical, toxic positivity guy. He's taking his new knowledge, and he's trying to turn it into wisdom, but it's not ready to become wisdom yet. It it's still going through a process. And I don't know what my role is in my brother's journey. I think that will reveal itself when it's time. But I already know that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things I want to change about myself still, but I'm a lot more kinder to myself. I'm a lot more compassionate with myself. And I accept that this is who I am. And every now and then I'm going to go on my rants because bitches be acting out of pocket. And somebody needs to tell them. And unfortunately, I'm that person. I saw something just recently where it's like you have the tendency to call people out on their patterns and say stuff like, you know what's wrong with you? That's me. I do that. And I don't do it like my brother does, where he thinks he knows everything and he's like all knowing guru. I do it out of like, pay attention, read the room. This is the problem that you're having on your hands right now because of this particular pattern. That's all I do, you know? So, with that being said, YouTube, I hope that someone, whoever watches this, is able to relate to to some extent, just because we all have it. And if there's anything I can say out of this video is, as you go through your journey, you're going to come across people that think they have it all figured out. And they don't. But they're going to make you feel like it. And my brother almost did that to me. The fact that I was able to catch myself, if anything, it actually made me feel even prouder. Because I realized at that moment that, oh my gosh, Karen, you're finally making some progress. So instead of like, even though I almost caught myself at that point where I was going to spiral back into a toxic cycle, that vicious cycle of self-doubt, I stopped and I listened to my inner voice and I stopped and I brought myself back. There was a time where it would just be the cycle. So in my own way, now I'm like recognizing that, and I have to give myself a pat on the back because my brother almost pulled me into that. And we're all going to go through that. So you just got to be mindful. And let me tell you, it's not always from the most vicious people. There are some people out there that are a bit narcissistic. My brother's been one to be narcissistic, but I recognize that my brother is going through a journey right now. And I'm not going to do anything to hinder that. I think that he needs to go through this, He needs to go through it without judgments. He needs to go through it without the criticism, okay? Because nobody needs that. So even though in my story it comes off like he's a bit of a villain, he really isn't, okay? And the point is to come from a place of love. And I'm pretty sure that despite his flaws, my brother was actually coming from a place of love. I believe he did. He was coming from a place of love. It's just that unfortunately, he hasn't quite figured it out. So as you go through your journey and you come across people like that, just know that they're not always out here trying to knock you down. It's just they think that they're at a particular place in their journey where they just know more, and they're still dealing with their flaws, and they're still dealing with imperfections that they carry with them. So stay in tune with yourself, listen to your inner voice, believe in yourself, be intuitive with yourself, be kind and compassionate with yourself. Don't let yourself fall into vicious circles, okay? And for those that might trigger you, you have to come from a place of love. Show them the compassion. Understand that they too have their journey. And, you know, just let them rock. Just let them, just let them rock. So, thank you, YouTube, for listening to this. And I hope you guys, give a like, maybe subscribe. That'll be nice. And maybe my brother won't have so much shit to talk. Peace.